Welcome back to another episode of Footballin with Ben Roethlisberger. My name is Spence, and as always, I am joined here with Seven himself. We've had a long day, Ben.
Spence, it has been a long day.
It's been a very long day, but it's about to be a very good night because for the first time, it's not just you and me down here.
It's not just you and
I.
No. We have our very first guest of Footballin.
Really?
And yeah, it's been a long day because the Steelers had the home opener. Good Sunday evening to everybody as the Packers and Bears are on. But yeah, our first guest, my very good friend, former Steeler, legend, find a way,
Drumroll.
Merril Hoge.
Yes.
Merril,
Ladies and gentlemen.
welcome to the first episode.
I'll help out with the audience. I'll help with the applause.
Our first guest. So, yeah.
I'm the first guest.
You are.
Yes.
My wife gives me the clip, so I thought.
Yeah, you haven't watched it yet, unfortunately.
No. I do too watch it. I watch them all, but I watched all the clips she sends me.
Spence, this is my camera over here, right? I look at that.
Yeah, that one.
I'm used
that
to
one.
being over
I know,
here,
it's
but
usually
now
over here. We switched it up.
This is our production. This high-end production.
We're nailing this. This is awesome. So yes, we have a lot to cover tonight.
A lot to cover.
A lot to cover. We're going to get a lot of really awesome insight because Merril was with us when we watched the game today. We got to go to the game.
So we're going to talk game.
We're going to talk game.
We're going to talk to Merril. We're going to talk about his books. We're going to talk about his life. We're going to do some interview stuff. So I know Steeler fans are going to be excited because we're going to dig in a little bit to Merril's playing days with Pittsburgh. I mean, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher. It's going to be some really cool stuff. And I have some other couple cool surprises. And I think we're going to do like a giveaway maybe at the end. Man. We got some books. We got hats. We've got helmet. We're going to have some cool stuff.
Jerseys.
So, hey, before we go too far, this week's episode is sponsored by nobody. Merril, we don't have any sponsors, but we do like to say thank you to Ikea Water. We gave Merril the big one as our guest.
I love it.
Ikea, thank you.
Yes.
And
I'll say this. Let's jump into our first beer. So, Merril, are you a beer guy, Merril? You like beer?
I'm not much of a drinker, but I will experiment. I will experiment in anything. I'll try anything.
All right, good.
I'll try anything.
Well,
I'm not gonna say no to something until I try it.
Since you haven't watched the show, what we do is we sample.
He's gonna be like, see, this is how it is. Yeah, the whole on the plane ride tomorrow all the way. You didn't watch any of my episodes.
Yeah, people don't know. So that's one of the reasons that Merril's on is because we golfed the other day, but we're leaving tomorrow. To go on tomorrow, which would be Monday, on a New Mexico elk hunt. Yeah. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk hunting too during this trip or during this episode. So yeah, so Spence is gonna give us a little breakdown of this first beer that he brought for us. We don't. So the fun part about this,
so you don't know what it is.
I have no idea what it is.
Okay, cool.
Only he does. So and we just have a little sniffer. So you just have to try a little sip. But one rule before we get started, this is called Footballin. So it's kind of too hard to explain. If you would have watched it, you would know where it came from. But it's balling.
Going all the way
and so when you ball, you drink it all. So even if you hate this, you have to finish that little sniff.
That's fair.
All right, good. Okay.
So in case you gentlemen did not know, if you were unaware, on September 17th, Oktoberfest officially started. Oh. Yes, so happy Oktoberfest to you gentlemen. So I thought it would make the most sense that we start with an Oktoberfest beer. All right. So
can you explain to me how in September Oktoberfest starts?
Yeah. So I can't. But here's my thought process.
We know that answer.
My thought process is it's a celebration, and I have no idea if this is true, but my thought process is that it's a celebration in anticipation for October.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
No more questions. No more questions. I buy it.
So, I mean,
I buy it.
Checks out on my end. So this one is actually, we've done this brewery before, but it was the Oktoberfest that I brought initially when you're like, in the first episode, you're like, oh, Oktoberfest is going to be the worst.
Yeah.
So it's from Rheingeist out of Cincinnati. Right. It's called Franz.
What part of Cincinnati? Or just downtown?
Merril lives down that way.
OTR, over the Rhine.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
okay, I don't know. I live in Fort Thomas, Kentucky.
Okay.
So
just over the river.
Across the river. I mean, I have a place here in Pittsburgh, but I've been there for in Cincinnati area 25 years.
Okay. Yeah. So you would be.
And over the Rhine they got some cool places actually in that area.
Yes, and I will say the Rheingeist Brewery is actually a phenomenal location.
That's cool. I've never heard about it.
Well, here you go. You get to try your first one. It's an Oktoberfest beer, but it's called Franz. So if you remember the SNL's
and Franz.
Yes.
What is that? What's that?
The pump you up. Yes. So they do a Vienna lager as well. That's called Hans.
Now is lager a thick beer?
No, it's typically a lighter one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
we're learning. We
Now I'm learning too.
We're learning a lot. Okay. Touchdown Packers.
Yes. So this is Oktoberfest. So here we go. Do you want to pour and I'll read?
Oh, sure.
We'll divvy up duties here.
Sure.
Because you know I'm so good at pouring.
Yeah. So.
So this one is 5.4% alcohol. The IBU, which we've learned stands for International Bitterness Unit. It's a measurement on how bitter this is going to be. This is a pretty low one. All right. It says Franz is our Oktoberfest beer. It's an autumn, I think that's the word, brew. A bit of a dreamer. Often hikes in the Alps and comes back with the great ideas for delicious malts and forever hoisting barrels over his head for the exercise. Franz is our Oktoberfest bra. And our first take on a German brew, not traditional, but uber German. These malts will pump you up. He went in. I like his style.
He doesn't slow play, doesn't sniff it. He doesn't.
We'll go at it. Because I was thinking this might be a good beer for the mountains in New Mexico.
Hey.
Oh, okay. What do you taste? Do you anything?
Now, I'm not a connoisseur by any stretch, but I actually like it. It's not
okay.
That's not bad.
Is it?
Nice. It's good. It's
has a twang to it.
A twang.
That's a great description.
Twang.
Merril, where have you been?
We might have to use twang.
Yeah, it's got
sometimes.
a twang. Well, that makes sense. Close to Kentucky, right? Got a little twang, right?
It's right next to the border.
Would you like to have another?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I don't want to pressure you into doing anything, but I want to make sure you're comfortable. I want you to.
We're just itty bitty glasses.
Yeah, they're little guys. That's all we do. We don't want nothing crazy here.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of that. Ben, you did mention, and I don't know all the details here.
That's good. That's a light Oktoberfest. It's not.
I thought the same thing.
It's light.
Good.
You'd mentioned you have a handful of surprises here this evening.
I do.
Yes.
I have a few.
We're going to unfold this real quick before we dive in because we have, like I said, we have a lot to talk about. Merril, find a way. These are your hats.
Yes.
I don't know if you could tell, big fan of green hats. So I'm going to switch.
Well, then I brought a red and a green.
I'm going to swap it out here.
So you can.
Can you educate me on find a way? Why the phrase?
Well, I'll say it this way. It's probably the simplest way.
Okay.
Those words have helped me live a dream and fight to live. But they were just supposed to help me live a dream.
A dream and fight to live.
And it started as a kid. And I think most people when they were kids probably heard somebody say, "Hey, write your goals down." Mm-hmm. Put them up in your bedroom, which I thought was a fantastic idea. But I had a couple problems. I had a little brother in a bunk bed. And so anything I put up on a wall was going to get torn down by him. So I was like, I always wanted my own bedroom.
Wait, is Marty the little brother?
Yeah. Yeah, it was Marty.
Marty's
yeah. So Marty's. If you don't Marty's know my little big brother.
Marty looks like he should be in WWE.
Yeah.
Tats up.
Yeah. Like if he came in the alley, you'd be like, oh gosh,
scared to death. Like I'm going the other direction.
Yeah,
like on a if you're walking the sidewalk, you cross the street to go from Marty. But Marty's one of the sweetest, nicest kid you ever meet in your life. So I guess I forgot he was the younger brother.
Yeah,
go
ahead. The younger brother. So I always thought, man, if I ever had my own room, I'd be able to pin my goals up, but in my room, I'd want a wall of cork. Like I've always thought, in your own room, because I could pin goals up everywhere.
Yeah.
So long story short, the basement that we used to play in all the time during the winter time, because when you're in Idaho, you don't get, or you have winters that are.
Go ahead. Do you want to get into this? Do you want me to talk about this first?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go back.
I'll get back to
all right. So one of my surprises for you, this is the first time. So if you're ever a part of our show, usually I bring something out of the garden or something out of like, we actually have some kind of food out here. But tonight, I want to do something special for you. So I have my good friend Evan, who's one of the best chefs I've ever been around, bring us something special, okay? And kind of to commemorate our hunting that we're about to do.
Okay, all right.
So, Evan, I'm going to turn it over to you. What is going on here?
All right, these are alligator tail bites.
Yes.
So I've soaked them in buttermilk, a little bit of hot sauce and some seasoning, and then quick fried them in a cornmeal crust. And there's also a red pepper and jalapeno remoulade.
You are my guy.
On top of it.
You are my guy. Let me tell you this. I've only had alligator one other time.
Have you had alligator before?
You love it.
Does it taste like chicken?
No. It tastes like alligator.
That's spot on.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I love all kind. I'll try anything.
We're gonna dig
Bo
into
and I
this.
took Bo on my son on a spring break, and we ate alligator at this place
All right,
that we went.
I'm going in, Evan.
But I gotta be honest with you,
Hot, like spicy hot or temperature hot?
like hot.
Well, that would be hilarious if Merril bit into it and he burned his mouth.
Yeah. It's already burning my fingers, so I'm like, I'm not gonna bite into it yet. But the way you cooked it was a lot different than the way they cooked, because I remember how they cooked. Yeah, there's a little more fanciness to it than
I think anything that
the other
shows
place I was at.
Yeah, anything that shows up with, what do you say, remulade? What is it? What is it? Remulade. Anything that shows up with a remulade is fancier than.
Hey, that's tender.
That's very good.
That's good. It's tender too. The other the gator I had was not really that tender.
I'm from Florida.
A little rougher.
You could
not
go.
chicken.
That's really good.
That's I'm not saying it's gassy.
Evan.
That's the best.
That's right up my alley.
Evan, are you from Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
I mean, so Evan's a big sports fan. Now, Evan wasn't born when you were still playing. Most of us here weren't.
That's all right.
But big sports fan. Steeler fan? Likes the Steelers. So I was going to have him, like, you have any questions for Merril, but you weren't like, he's never seen you play because you weren't, and they didn't have like the.
Evan, when were you born? What's your?
85.
All right, so you're 2 when I was drafted.
So Evan's going to think he's going to go up, he's going to come back down a little while, and he's going to bring us a question. He's going to think of a really good question for you. Something that really maybe stumps you, or something that either he or his family or friends, someone that, like, oh, man, that's a question. I'd love to ask Merril that question. Good. Or what's it like to be or anything like that, okay?
And by the way, Evan, this is killer. This is killer. I love it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Merril,
all right, Evan.
Really
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right.
That's really good.
Hey,
can we take a commercial break so I can finish eating?
Our whole podcast is a commercial break.
Wait a minute. Yeah. We're not sponsored. We don't need a commercial.
Yeah, no,
break.
not at all.
So I'll finish that find away. So my dad tells me that we're at dinner one night, and he said we're going to convert our concrete basement into 3 bedrooms and a family room, and one of the bedrooms is going to be mine. So I'd always envisioned if I had my own bedroom, I'd want a wall of cork. I asked him about putting a wall of cork in it. He asked me why. I told him because I'm going to write my goals down. I want to pin them up, and I still had to go junior high, high school, college, and so I was going to make a pyramid, like they had steps to them, and at the top would be I'll play in the National Football League. So room gets done. I went in. It wasn't the wall that I had envisioned, but my bed was bumped up against a chair rail, and the 3 panels of cork were above it. So it ends up being half a wall, not an entire wall. And I put the goal up, I will play in the National Football League. And when I was sitting there, I call this like about one of my first moments of truth in life. I was 12 years old. And every time somebody would ask me, like, what do you want to do when you're a kid? What are you going to do when you grow up? I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I was only like 8. I was like, 8-year-olds, I usually don't know what they want to do. But I remember thinking, wow, it would be, I think about that. I never thought about that. That's what sparked it. It wasn't like I knew what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to start thinking about that. Now, just Ben will appreciate this. Okay, it's 1972. So you're lucky. We didn't have TV. We didn't have a TV. Like, you're lucky if you had a TV. And if you had a TV, you only had 3 channels anyway. Right. They didn't like today where, look at this, all this, this in this room. And so I just like to go to my grandparents' house because we could watch television. And I walked in one day, ironically, it's so funny, the Green Bay Packers were on. I don't remember who they were playing, but it was the Green Bay Packers. And what I was fascinated by, I'd never seen it on television. But I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
That's what I'm going to do.
At 8, you knew it
yes.
At 8.
And because I've been doing it. I've been playing in the backyard, and I loved it. I mean, even though I played all sports, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I really couldn't wait for people to ask me because now I was going to have an answer. So here's what was interesting to me. When I was asked, and I would tell them what I was going to do, one of 4 things was said to me right after I said that. They'd say, oh, God, you know how hard that is? Or do you know what the odds of you playing in the National Football League are? Son, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We won't want you to be disappointed one day, or that's impossible. And this is why I see things through a child's eyes, maybe more than most adults do, because all these things that happened to me as a kid. Like the people who were supposed to encourage me were the first ones to discourage me.
Wow.
And I never understood that. So when I became a parent, I tried to break chains like that with kids, not just my own kids, but all kids. But as I sat and looked at that goal, I just started thinking about all those things. And every time I share it, I can go back to that moment in time because I live it so much because I do a lot of speaking nationally, inspirational speaking, and I share that story because it was a pivotal point in my life for me. And I had no energy. I'm telling you, I would play in the NFL was nothing more than words on a wall. And then the words "find a way" pop into my head. And it just completely changes my whole embodiment of energy that exists in my body. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to go. Now, did I know what I was going to do? No. I absolutely have zero clue what I'm going to do. But it sends me on a journey. So, and I could go on and on. I'm not going to. But how the book came about was I was sitting in a chemotherapy chair, one of my last treatments, and a good friend of mine had documented the day. So I would get up at 6 a.m. because I had to be there. 5 because I had to be there at 6. And then I didn't get out of there till about 6 or 7 that night. And then I would go play in a basketball league or I trained the next morning. And so he wanted to document that. He was like, I can't believe you're doing all that. So we're sitting in a chair, and I actually thought we were doing interviews just like this the whole day. And I thought it was going to be more for my kids. If I don't make it. So we were trying to talk in concepts like that. My kids were 7 and 9 at the time. When they get older, what is my vision for them and things. And he looked at me and he's like, after I got done talking to him about the journey, where it sent me, the things that I did, he goes, man, you need to write a book on that. I said, Charlie, if I survive, I'll write your dumb book. I really did. I said, because that was the last thing on my mind. I mean, my mind was consumed with chemotherapy and dying at that time. And I said, write your book. So a year later, and his name's Charlie LaValle. He's in the Pittsburgh area. He's a phenomenal human being. He gives back and has served so many people. And he called me up. He said, remember that promise you made me? And I was like, I said, no. He goes, you said you'd write that book. Wow. And I was like, that's right. So that's how I ended up writing the book.
So he didn't help you write it. He just helped you take the next step to do it.
Challenged me.
Challenged you to do it.
Challenged me to do it.
That's awesome. We'll definitely get into. I know people, and I want to hear. I mean, I've read. I know it's the second edition. I read the first edition, and I know you'll explain the second edition a little closer. But would love to dive in a little bit more into that stuff as we move on. But because you were talking early age and growing up, and that was Idaho, correct? You grew up in Idaho?
Yeah, Pocatello, Idaho.
Where?
Pocatello, Idaho.
That's a big town.
Pocatello, it's third biggest in the state, I believe. You got Boise, Idaho Falls, and then probably Pokey. Yeah.
Pokey.
There's not many Pokey ever. That's the nickname. Pocatello
awesome.
called Pokey.
And I think do I remember correctly that you grew up did you work on a potato farm or something?
Yeah, I worked on I cowboyed for years. I actually quit football one year, and I calf roped and bull rode bulls for a year.
Well, didn't you when you were a cowboy? Weren't you on a llama though? Yeah, I do. I remember you doing
Well, I'll tell you this: when I technically first started out, you could be somewhat right. You have some validity saying that we ride sheep. I mean, so the kids when you're like 8, 9 years old, you ride the sheep.
Yeah.
You'd ride the sheep, and you wouldn't get to the steers and the bulls until you got a little older.
Yeah, doing that because I remember there in your book. I remember there were some stories about the potato field, how hard work it was, and do you think that? Because obviously you worked your butt off, and we'll talk about how hard it was to go to college and then get in the NFL, how hard it is to play in the NFL. But what do you think, or do you think, was it family? Was it your brother? Was it your a parent? Was it working at a potato farm? What kind of gave you the work ethic, the drive to continue to do those things? You know what I'm saying? Because it seems you come from, you're going and you're rodeoing and you're working, but yet you on your wall you were trying to find a way to make the NFL.
Right.
But it didn't seem like that was a viable option early on.
Right. It's a good question, and it's a kind of a deep one in a way, because find a way still this day. And I mean, that's why I have a shirt and a hat, because it inspires me to take action. I just believe that every human being can take action no matter what their circumstance is. Now, how they go about finding a way does not mean it's going to be like somebody like I found my way. But I do know one thing about no matter what journey you go on, what goal you try to accomplish, or what circumstance you might be dealing with or adversity, you have to do something about it. Mm-hmm. You can't do nothing. I do know this with 100% certainty. If you do nothing, then the result's going to be nothing. Oh. Mm-hmm. Doing something is your responsibility. And what I learned, for like, especially when I was working on a farm and working a ranch, when I was a kid, I started working, so I was 12 years old. I would ride a motorcycle to the farm, get in a truck, drive 13 miles to the Mashad Flats, where I would move. Mashad Flats means nothing to anybody other than a Pocatello Idol. They know Mashad Flats. But it's out on the reservation. It's out in where all of the farmlands are, all by myself. And I'd move pipe. I'd start moving pipe at 6 in the morning. I wouldn't be done until 10 at night, 7 days a week, all summer long. I didn't go, and like,
so you didn't have like
I really wasn't a kid.
Life.
I didn't have a kid. I didn't have a childhood. And actually, I identify with, now this is a little bit of an extreme, but when you see the behaviors of, say, like Michael Jackson, okay? Well, Michael Jackson, was performing at 5? Mm-hmm. Think about not having a childhood, not having a childhood. There's a reason that kids, how we grow and evolve and experience certain things. And if you skip those stages, especially a childhood, there's a thing called, that I've done a lot of research on, called ACEs. It's adverse childhood experiences. There's a list of them. I mean, it can be death in the family, physical abuse, mental abuse, drug abuse, death. I mean, a whole host of things. Yeah. Everybody's probably had an ACE or two in their life. Some have more than others. But how those things affect you in your adult life and what things can help you work through them. So sports is one of the greatest things to help people with ACEs that have had a lot of ACEs. I know you could talk about all kinds of people came from, you had a death in your family. Mm-hmm. You would be someone that wouldn't be immune to ACEs in what happened to you as a kid. And how, like, I remember when my mom died at a young age, I remember the only time I had peace when I was at practice or on a football field. The only time. Like, it was my sanctuary.
Sports has an amazing way, I don't mean to cut you off, but has an amazing way of taking your mind to a different place and in a freeing place, which is why I think so many times, when you get a sport can be such a healing, not just for people playing it, but for people watching it. Very you think, when something happens, it's like, man, do you play sport on this day? Do you not play? You think of traumatic 9/11, things like that. Obviously no one played on that day, but then, the next week, when did they start up again? And you talk about, now we got to get on the field or the court or whatever it is, because fans, that helps them heal too. When they can take their mind off of what's going on and just for 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, be dialed into something like that. Sports do amazing thing for people.
Yeah. You're not there because it's your first game not as a retired player. But what you find out, like, you're going to see Saturdays and Sundays a lot different than you saw it as a player. Mm-hmm. And when certain seasons are over, like football season's over, I miss it. Like, I love that Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I've learned to deal with not playing anymore. Like, I was just talking to Ben the other day, and he's like, I'm such a peace with it, which I'm grateful for that, because there's a lot of players. Like, I was not like that. It took me literally 5 years, 5 years to get a grasp on my career, because my career didn't end like yours. I didn't accomplish the things you accomplished, and I think, like, people go, what do you miss about it? I miss what I didn't accomplish. That's what I miss. I don't miss Monday night games. I don't miss Sunday night games. I don't miss playoff games. I don't miss training. I don't miss all of it. I miss that I didn't win a Super Bowl. That was the only thing and reason I played. And I'll never get to do that. And that took me a long time to deal with that and move that, put that away and move on in my life.
How have you been able to do that?
I would tell you this. I will refer back to this 100 times, because those words still sit in my office every day. One of the most powerful things I've ever done is I put my goals, which I still write down goals, and I put it where I start and end my day, which is my office. I'm going to start my day there. And I've done a lot of research and work. I know this factually, but I've done a lot of research and work on how powerful our mind is. Mm-hmm. Like, your mind, when it works at the most is when you're actually at rest. And if you well, this truly Ben will identify with. I'll try to help the listeners and viewers understand this. When I was a rookie, when any rookie would come in, they overload you. They throw the whole book at you. It's 3 days, and then you got a month off. They're like, okay, you can say check with me in the huddle. You can have mistakes here. When we go to training camp, no more of that. Yeah. Okay, so now I was in fear. I was like, I think every play they called, I checked. I was like, Jack, where do I line up? Where do I go? And, that's expected. I mean, it wasn't all that bad. But I'm going to tell you this. You didn't know the playbook like that. And going to training camp, you have a few short weeks, and it's over. And if all you got to do is make a few mental errors, and that right there will eliminate you. Yeah. So I went home, and that cork board I told you about, I still had that in my that was still the bedroom that I lived in. So I wrote down all my plays. I wrote down every play from all the runs, draws, the 70 series, the 80 series, the 90 series. I wrote down the play and my responsibility.
When he says 70, 80, 90 series, that's the passing protection,
there you go.
Correct?
Right.
Just for people that don't know.
Yeah, right.
So
70,
passing,
so
what
70s,
he's going to do
right.
every passing play, the running back may have may have to block, he may have to chip, he may have to go out for a pass.
Right. And what my route is. Right.
So what his route is.
And
so
what
that's
my
what he
route
means
is.
when he talks about the 60s, 70s, 80s,
right.
90s, whatever it is.
And all the screen packages.
Right.
So the entire offense is on my wall. And it would take literally about an hour and a half because I would call it out. I would say what I was going to do, and I'd walk through everything. Then I get up in the morning, I do the same thing. So I do this for about 3 weeks, a month before I go back to training camp. Now, I get to training camp. I'm in the huddle for the very first time, and Mark Malone was our quarterback at the time. And I'll never forget, you know how when you know the book, I mean, the quarterback starts calling up plays, there's about 3 words, and I already know what he's doing. I already know the play. I already know what I'm doing. I mean, it's just, it's second nature. That's exactly how it was. And it was like just one of many lessons. Like I had programmed and went through it so much and had trained so well.
That's awesome.
That when I went into training camp, I never made one mental error in the entire.
Awesome. Hear that, young people?
Camp.
That's the first time I got in the huddle, they let me take some reps with because obviously in training camp I was not the starter, Tommy was, but I got to take some reps with the first group, and I'll never forget. I came in the huddle and I went to call a play, and Jeff Harding's just like, "Speak up, rookie." I was like,
yeah, they don't mess around, right. I know what you're saying.
I don't think I spoke up either. I was like, I didn't cry.
I've never seen a game from like the fans' perspective.
I've never watched a game with you and Heinz Field or whatever.
Well, of course you haven't, actually, sure. Yeah, we've never watched a game like that. So this is, I don't think you're going to be as crazy as you, I hear you usually are. You still see some 7s, and that's nice.
Guys, come on, please.
Just keep the kids close.
Go.
I know.
Thank you. I love you guys. Give some love. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you. Thank you, man. Thanks, sir.
Is it weird that Ben's in the suite?
It's very surreal. Well, it feels like we're here for like a pit game or something,
Yeah, it does. Oh, Jim.
I don't know.
Pat texts it back. He goes, "Let's go." He goes, "I appreciate it."
Aw. How are you feeling is the question. I'm definitely less stressed.
Yeah, no, I feel like little nerves, like butterflies. Like it's kind of cool. Like it's almost like it's still my team, and I'm like hurt watching it or something.
Yeah.
But it
Well, it kind of is still your team, just not one you play for anymore.
See, that's what Mitch does well. Get him out on the move, let him do some stuff like that. There's a penalty, and you had a guy right on him. It's got to get a first. There you go. Good catch. Oh no! It's either a catch and fumble or an incompletion. Yep. Good job, Ty. That's nice they don't go to the booth anymore, like do anything. That's good. Careful, Pat. There you go. Boo!
What do you think, guys? How do we feel?
Oh, bummer we lost.
We win some of these things.
Yeah.
Steelers lost the home opener today.
Yeah, they did. Yes, they did.
You know what they remind me of a little bit? We had actually one of Chuck's last 2 years. we had a guy, Joe Walton, he used to be he was offensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins when they won the Super Bowl. Had Joe Theismann. They had the Smurfs. Okay,
Yeah.
He was the offensive coordinator during that era. They won the Super Bowl. He went to New York with the Jets, and they struggled. They weren't very good. They fired him, and so Chuck hired him as our offensive coordinator. Well, he brought the Smurf system in. We didn't have a Smurf in the building. There was no Smurf anywhere. I'm like, I was a Smurf. I got anointed a Smurf. I ain't a Smurf. I mean, like, we had still. Well, my point is, we were running a system that we didn't fit.
Sure.
And he was committed that his system worked because it already won a Super Bowl. And this was like one of those experiences in football where I realized that the real good coaches, they adjust to their personnel.
Sure.
We're not Smurfs. So, okay, going back to what Bill did a great job of when he came in, he hired a guy named Ron Earhart who knew exactly who we were, and our whole system was completely different than Joe Walton's. You know, he fit our strengths, catered to what we all did really well, because we were like a good offensive line, bunch of big tight ends and backs. Like, we really weren't good at the wide receiver position, like dominant. So he catered to that, and we were a much different. We were 11-5 versus 8-8. So you know, there's a lot of new faces on this team, and that. Yeah. I went to Chicago when it was like that. Like all these new faces. Our quarterback was new. Andy Heck, our tackle was new. I was new. Our whole running backs were new. We had Jeff Graham, who had actually been here as a wide receiver. He was new. We had, like, I think 6 new offensive players on offense, and that's just hard.
Even with all that said, though, they had a chance. I mean, the Patriots came in, a team that lost last week to the Dolphins in a divisional opponent, and you had you still had a chance, and just needed to play here, need to play there.
You know what? Okay, when you said that, now this is not pinning it on one guy, but it does tell you the importance of one guy. The Flair to Najee, okay, that schematic matchup. I am telling you this. They were going to try to get that the entire game. Mm-hmm. They get it. They even get the pick. You can't underthrow that guy.
Yeah. Oh, it was kind of a little, like a wheel route, a little wheel route up the sideline.
A wheel flare out there. You know your guy's better than that guy.
The linebacker beat. You're going to pick him a little bit. Got thrown out there a little bit.
You can't miss those throws.
I think Mitch will tell you that too. That he missed it.
Right.
Well, the other thing though is and
I'm not saying that. Okay.
Underthrow it. He expects him to make the play, but a little bit more. I think he's going to make that, and it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Completely different. That's what. Well, what I'm getting at is like, those are the different. Like those type of plays in this league.
Yeah.
You have to make.
I mean, the other thing. I mean, you think too. What I think one of the bigger plays of the game was Cam Sutton dropping the interception, because Cam, and the only reason I say that is because we always joke defensive guys play defense for a reason because they can't catch, but Cam has really good hands. Like Cam has one of the better set of hands that I've ever seen.
Right.
And so it's kind of one of those jaw droppers, kind of holy cow, the guy dropped it, because that's just you don't see it happen with him. Right. And so I think that's huge. That's a game changer. I think it was the other thing. I thought the defense played well, but I think Minka stepped up again, interception. I mean, just he's playing really well right now. But it was very obvious that TJ wasn't out there today. He's a game changer. He's a wrecker.
Right. See what I don't think fans appreciate about that. Okay, which I know you do, Ben. Like when you have a guy like him, you walk out of the huddle going, "We got to know where that guy is.
Where is he? Where is he?"
So that's taken. Okay, there might be a couple people assigned to that cat. Mm-hmm. He changes how we call plays. He changes how we protect. When I don't,
there's guys like that when we would see him take a break, like a breather, you would go no huddle so that he can't substitute back in the game. Like you pick up the pace, don't substitute. We don't substitute, so they can't substitute. And it's how fast not just how fast, but just not giving him an ability
can we have
Terrell
that he's not on.
Like, how can we figure out a way to keep him on the sideline because he's a game changer and a wrecker. So I know what you're talking about.
Because listen, Cam's Hayward's one of those guys, but if there's one of them, that's a lot easier than tough. 2 of them.
Yeah.
And Highsmith, he's coming on, he's getting better, but he's not where he's not. You're not watching him going, we're going to devote a game plan around that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll do some adjustment if he starts doing some things, but we're gonna go about our business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that just makes it's just easier to call plays. It's easier to design stuff when you don't have to worry about a cat like that.
Yeah, TJ's in a league of his own for sure.
Yeah. I know. You and I, we talked about at the game today a little bit. We have a difference of opinions on the quarterback
Probably,
position and who's playing and what's going on. I think you just don't know the quarterback position very well.
That's fair.
No, but I mean everyone's entitled. But and it obviously.
I'm gonna let you finish, but you know what? See, this is what makes football great. And I'm gonna just tell you this. No. Like, okay, at ESPN, they used to go, well, let's get debate. I go, no, time out. First of all, you don't have to make up debate. If you get somebody that's prepared about football and is passionate about football,
you just talk.
You're going to see things differently. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So is the athlete.
Yeah.
Somebody sees it a certain way, and he sees them different. Okay, that's how teams are. Now somebody has to. Eventually, we got to come to one decision.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to a draft or an evaluation.
Right.
But you think all. So let's say you got 12 guys that are scouts. Everybody comes in and they see a player the same way. No way.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Right.
You see that, and those things help you. Sometimes listening to something like that he would say would open my scope to something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never really looked at it like
Well,
that. Or I need to start looking at it like that.
We talked probably the very first episode we did this when we were talking about the difference between Kenny and Mitch and what's going to happen. And I said the thing that's going to happen at some point, because when they drafted Kenny, maybe more than half the city wanted him to start right from the get-go. Not even before he played it down, just because he's a Pitt kid. Sure. Mitch comes with some baggage from Chicago and some stuff, but give the man a chance. I thought, and we said that right away, or if at any point if he doesn't play well, it's going to be Boo Birds. It's going to be Kenny. And today we heard it for the first. I mean, obviously it's the first home game, but we heard it. And they started chanting Kenny, and I just don't think it's fair that it happened to Mitch today, because I wouldn't blame Mitch for the performance today. I don't think he was bad. Did he miss a couple throws? Yes, every quarter. I just saw Aaron Rodgers miss a throw, and he's one of the greatest to ever play. It's going to happen sometimes. We talk about that little wheel route or whatever up the sideline to Notch. He missed it. He threw an interception one time. The guy tipped it, whatever. But did he play his best game? No. Did he play his worst game? I don't think so. I don't think that he deserved the fans getting on him today, because sometimes you're playing within the system. And I'm not trying to say that it's on Matt Canada either, but sometimes if he's looking down the field and no one's there, he's taking the check down or he's throwing it. If you call a wide receiver screen, you're throwing the wide receiver screen. If it goes for -2 yards, that's not on the quarterback. It's not his fault that the screen goes for -2 yards.
Completely.
So I thought it was a little early and a little unfair to start booing, or I think the boo birds were more for the offense in general. I think.
Yeah. I agree.
But I think just the fact that they were starting to chant some Kenny stuff. I'm saying all this in saying that we had talked about this very early on and knew that it was going to come. And I hate it for Mitchell, because I just don't think it's fair yet. I think he's But that's just my opinion. I'll let you chime while I go.
No. When you draft a guy like that, that's just inevitably going to happen. As soon as the guy out there is doing bad, they're like, well, that's why you drafted that guy.
But did you expect it to happen that early?
Yes.
I know you did.
I've been around long enough. No,
yeah.
Not shocked. I'm sorry they didn't blue from the very beginning.
I think some of them did.
So like that. Now here's how I see it different.
Okay.
So I've studied Mitch Trubisky since he came out of college. When he came out of college, there was a couple things that he struggled with in college. He was very inconsistent with his throws, like what you saw today. And he missed who was wide open down the field. He missed Claypool.
Claypool Chase was down.
Yeah, Chase. Yeah.
Deontay was down there one time.
That's how he was at college. Like you would watch him in college and just go, wow, he makes the touchdown that he threw and the 2-point conversion.
Yep.
Freaking great throws. Great throws. You could never see him be consistent with, especially in critical situations. which is really where it all came down to. I remember I was watching the South Carolina game. I'm like 8 games into watching him. And I'm always on the fence with him because he would make a great throw and then he'd miss something that he just can't miss. Okay, so playing South Carolina, they're around the 40, South Carolina's 45-yard line. They're down by 4. It's 3rd and 5. This is your money down, okay? Their slot wide receiver actually gets drafted in the 3rd round. He was a very good wide receiver. He absolutely smokes the defender. And Mitchell Trubisky hits the 3rd down sign. He didn't even keep it in the ballpark for him.
Yeah.
And have to punt. They lose the game. And I was like, okay, at the end of the day, that's who he is. He will make some things for you, and you'll be like, oh, you could see the upside if he did that all the time. So my point is, I've never. That's why they drove him out of Chicago. The last time he played against Minnesota, his red zone performance was one of the worst I've ever seen in the NFL in recent memory. Just missing people, making bad throws, with a chance to win the game.
And you're saying that is
so that's kind of how
he is, not necessarily
right.
just a.
That's what drove him out of Chicago. Okay, now sitting in Buffalo, there's a chance for a reboot. So you're right. This is only his 2nd game, but in 2 games, I've kind of seen that. I've like a touchdown throw on the 2. Okay, that's where you go, wow. And then Claypool wide open, missed the Cincinnati both 2 times, not even in the ballpark. At least give your guy a shot sometime. Okay. And it's as hard a throw as it probably is. It's not the easiest throw to Najee Harris. You hit those, and some of them are schemed, and that's what we got to do. We've designed this whole day. We've tried to set it up to get that.
Right.
We can't miss it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I don't want him to fail either, especially that he's in Pittsburgh now. I wanted to see him do better. I've not seen him get over that hump.
Yeah.
I've seen. He actually, I think in the playoff game, he had a really good playoff game. There was one they lost. It was that field goal where they ended up losing.
Yeah.
That was probably the best game I've seen him play as a pro. But I've only seen one of those.
Does that performance give you enough to say that there's probably hope in this individual to get that level of performance consistent? Or
no, that's what I think a mistake teams make. I think there's enough the more evidence speaks. This is who he is. Yeah. Just accept that. But you're not going to win championships with that inconsistency at that position anyway. That's it just can't. I don't care. I mean, that's just the facts. You're not going to.
Sure.
But you did. I mean, you kind of commented on it earlier. I mean, in a roundabout way, is it him? Is it the offense?
Well,
is it the?
That's Ben.
What is it in your opinion?
Did
you watch one of the things I'll say this. One of the things that I have always enjoyed about you, one as a friend, but when you especially work for ESPN and we're doing what you do, or when you call in a DV in the mornings, like you're not one of those people that just talk because they played. You talk because you study the game and you study film and you see it and you've seen a lot of it. And I respect that about you. Even if I don't always agree with what you say, right. At least it's coming from an educated position.
Right.
And so that's why I feel comfortable enough asking you this question, because you're educated in your answer.
Right. Okay. Now I'll answer this. Okay. Let's take, it's probably the only running game that I've ever been a little confused on. I don't think that when you look at just how he designs the run, I don't know that he threatens the box. Actually, I think he adds more people to the box and he puts more people in bad spots in the running game. I mean, on like some of his motions, they bring people in and they don't affect any, like the jet stuff isn't affecting anybody. You're pulling somebody else into the box. You're not affecting anybody on the back end. So now you got more people in there than you even wanted. I mean, there's just schematically, there's some stuff that doesn't make sense with it. Something I've believed in this league, there's 2 things I think you have to do offensively if you're going to have a shot to be a champion. You're going to have to control the tempo of the game. The best way to do that is run the football. So you're going to have a good running game. That's because you need it. You're going to use it, period. That phase has to be a part of the team. And then you have to be explosive. Like you have to have explosive elements.
I haven't seen that yet. Like,
right.
I mean, Deontay made an explosive play on that. I mean, that catch is one of the greatest catches I've seen maybe ever. But there hasn't. You're right. I kept saying that today when we were watching the game. I kept saying, someone go down the field,
right? Take
some shots down the field. Right. Now, whether that's play calling, whether that's Mitchell not throwing it, if it was called, I don't know. But I just kept sitting there like, come on, like you've got to back a defense up. You've got to at least threaten them every once in a while. That you have to be ready for it. If you just keep throwing the short stuff, you just every once in a while take one shot,
right?
And I you're right. We're missing the explosive.
Well,
play
if you don't have that, let's just think how much easier you make it on the defense.
Yeah,
I mean that is not.
And there's explosive players on that team, like on our offense.
Bro, actually, when I was on the field, I was thinking, man, that group. I mean, their size and their speed and their from tight end to 3 wides. I mean, geez, dangerous.
Yep.
I mean, vertically dangerous.
Yep.
Thing. So, I was watching the Cincinnati game. Now, I know that it's week 1, but if you took away their gadgets and misdirection, half their offense is gone. And, gadgets and misdirection those are usually wrinkles.
Sure.
They're not the foundation of an offense, and when you see route wrinkles. Combinations and you don't see that, you don't see like pro stuff. Like I'll tell you this, Pitt's offense had more pro concepts. Because when I was watching Pickett come out, I was like, the one thing to evaluate him, I was like, okay, can he throw concepts, pro concepts? Well, yeah, because he's doing it in college. I don't have to guess. I don't have to guess that he can do that. I watched him do it.
Yeah,
like they had more vertical.
His
middle.
coordinator was my quarterback coach, Whipple. He was my quarterback coach when I first got here.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Now is Whipple there now?
No, he left and he's in.
Did he get head job somewhere?
No, he's the OC at like Nebraska or
anyway, you could. You're right,
I can't remember.
But their system, look. I mean, there's a true pro style system that you have. Yeah, you just don't see a lot of it in the design.
Yeah,
and I just know this: if you can't be explosive, it's just hard.
You gotta have it.
It's really hard.
You gotta have it.
Talking about Mark Whipple?
Yeah, Coach Will.
Yeah,
he's great. Where's he coaching now?
The University of Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
Look at a look at this guy.
He's good friends with Chris Berman.
Yes, very close.
Because he's been up at our war room with this.
Yep.
So you had mentioned earlier when you were talking about some of your stories, the importance of being able to build a scheme for the guys that you have. So being able to identify some of what you call these wrinkles in the current scheme that the Steelers have, what do you think would be a successful offensive scheme for the current talent on our team?
Well,
Coach Merril.
Yeah, well, like the biggest issue, I don't care what scheme that I want to run right now. The 5 guys, there's only, in football, you think about this, everybody says, 11 guys got to work together, make a play, defensive on, which is so true. Within those 11, there's different units, okay? The biggest unit in all of football is the offensive line because 5 guys have to work like one. It's the only unit that's like that. You could argue maybe when there's nickel out there, the secondary, it's
not the same.
It's not quite the same. I mean, it's just, you got to have 5 guys that see everything the same way and they work together. And because there's so many new faces there, it's
hard to mesh. That group has to mesh.
Until they get to where, but let's say they did. Let's say, so that would be my goal is to get those guys run. Now, how do you get those things running? Which I actually think they kind of do. I remember the Buffalo game last year. You guys quit doing any shifts and motions because your shifts and motions were killing you. Because I'm telling you, every time you shifted, they'd put like 9 people in the box. It was like, if I go, one thing's a credit to them is they quit doing it in the second half.
Yeah.
And they were much better. So that being said, I would get me some staple runs that we really were good at. We're going to run these no matter what. We're on them every week. And these are our go-tos to reset us. I would get that established pronto. Because you got 2 good backs. You got 2 guys that can.
Yeah, that rookie's a good little player.
I'm telling you.
30? Is he a rookie?
30.
I like him.
He's a rookie, right?
He is, yes.
Sure, yeah,
he's a powerful guy. Najee's a freak. And I get that going.
Yeah.
See, I get that going. And I've always liked, personally, to be explosive. This is why the Ravens are technically explosive. Because they can sell hard run action. See, like the play action and run action, 2 different things. Run action is when your everybody's eyes think it's run for a split second. That's all I need.
Yeah.
All I need is even a safety to just like pause for a second. With some of the freaks they have, with the speed in the NFL, period. What makes Miami so dangerous now? Okay, and a lot of the stuff they do. It's a lot of hard run out. You pull a guard, you pull that ball out, and you've already hit them like with 3 runs, for 5 yards a clip. I mean, it's just human. Your eyes can fool you, and your eyes and defenders have a run responsibility too.
Right,
they got to respect that.
Right.
So I don't need you to get to the box, but if I make you hold your feet, then I got a shot. Yeah. And I would base a lot of stuff off of those things, those concepts. I get my running game going, I'd have a hard run action. My passing game would be complete too, but that's how to try to get explosive plays on you.
The thing too, the interesting part about that is they play now again Thursday, right? They go to Cleveland, and when you have that, and I don't know, did you guys play Thursday games back when you probably
just Thanksgiving?
When you have a short week. Short weeks are brutal.
No, I completely agree.
Brutal. How you're not even sometimes on Thursday. You're not even like
don't even feel right.
You're still not right.
I'm with you.
And so it's gonna be tough to play. And so usually on those short, now you do like the back end when you get those extra days off on the back end, but that short week going to Cleveland, division opponent who just lost today, they're gonna be fired up. Typically, in those short weeks, you really like. I don't say dumb down the playbook, but you just go with what your core is, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do this week. Are they going to kind of go with what they're good at, and maybe that's what they need to kind of reset themselves, kind of get back to doing what they do.
Because you got no other option.
You have to.
You're exactly
and so
right.
it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Point. That's actually a really because I remember the first time we played Thanksgiving. I mean they come in on Tuesday and hands like. Just a little plan we had. It's nothing like what we'd have.
We used to turn our Coach Randy, BA, all them would turn the call sheet over. That was our no huddle side because everybody knew the no huddle like the back of their hands because we had to, and it's easy to call from that, and you could just go from there and do it. That was like our base offense was in that Thursday. Now I might not be calling it all. They might call it, but you just would. That's what you were going with, something that you guys ran from day one of training, of OTAs, of minicamp, was the no huddle stuff or that base stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's a big game.
You say that. Okay, I mentioned Ron Earhart. Okay, Ron Earhart. Even though he and I butted heads, I loved him. He was a great coach. I'll never forget the first thing he established with us. He established with I think he called it a 6-pack. He goes, "We got 4 runs and 2 passes. We will do these, and we can do these to anybody in the National Football League when we need them. Okay, we might be in the middle of the game, we're not doing anything. We're gonna go 6-pack.
That's awesome.
And we're gonna make these 4 runs and these 2 passes work.
That's awesome.
And I'm telling you this, I can't even tell you how many times we'd have to reset ourselves with those plays, and we get those 6 things going, and it would get us going.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully they get it going and turn it back around, and so. I don't know. I know we got to start talking some hunting stuff. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any questions either for me or Merril that we want to jump into real quick?
Yeah, there was a handful of questions that you actually
start asking questions sometimes. So
they were very curious about the Houston game and the Denver game, and I think when you expound upon that, you gave a beautiful insight to their questions. One for
the Denver game, was that the game you went off like for like 200 yards, 100 and some yards? Like
okay, the best play. Okay, here's one thing the fans may not know about that game. Okay. My rookie year, Jerry Glanville sent a player off the sideline to one of our players and blindsided Frank Pollard, one of our running backs. Okay. Turned into one of the biggest fights.
Jerry Glanville was like kind of.
Oh, dude, Jerry Glanville. Now there's the epitome of class, and then there's the epitome of no class. Chuck Noll class, Jerry Glanville no class. So see, after this game, Chuck Noll comes across. In fact, Jerry Glanville wrote a book on this. What he said happened with Chuck Noll is a complete lie. Because here's what happened.
You heard it here first, folks.
Well, let me tell you. And here's how I'll never forget it. Because listen, I mean, what Chuck said to him and how he said it, I was just like, I was almost like in awe. I was like, I never expected him to come out another coach like he did. But he came over to it and he grabbed Jerry and he said, "Listen. You ever send anybody off your sideline on the field at one of my players, I'm coming after it." Do you understand me? Jerry doesn't say anything. He starts to walk away. Chuck grabs him and pulls him back. And he says, I'm serious, you son of a.
Thank you. This
And
is
I'm
a family
standing.
show.
I know. So I'm
we're
sitting
sponsored
there.
by Disney,
But I'm sitting
so.
there. I know. I'm sitting there just going, oh my gosh. I mean, like I was ready to run through a wall for me. Then we get in the locker room. He addresses it. He said, listen, we don't fight. We don't start fights, but you protect your buddy. When you're out there and somebody blindsiding you, you take care of them. He goes, and I'll pay for your fines. He goes, we are not going to carry on like that. And listen, he gives him this speech. He never mentions Jerry Glanville or that incident ever again.
Wow.
Every time we went to play the Houston Oilers or they came to play us, Jerry would have some smart comment like, okay, Chuck Noll, his only time he wins Coach of the Year is 1989. Jerry Glanville in the interview goes, oh, I voted for him. I voted for him this year. He goes, and I spelled his name Knoll. You spell his name Noll. I mean, this is just a classless piece of trash. I mean, but he's always doing that stuff, So anyway, when we win that game, and we win it in overtime, we know this. It isn't that we won and we're moving on in the playoffs.
Right.
They're firing Jerry Glanville. This is the greatest experience to know that he was getting fired. And this whole thing had been going on for like 3 or 4 years. And finally, the guy who had class and didn't do anything other than address the situation again and left it go, ends up winning. I loved it.
That's cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think Chuck Noll's my hero now. I mean, I've always respected him. But
I'm going to tell you this. It would even not be a bad hero to pick. His principles are spot on.
That's amazing. And then one for you that I thought was really interesting, Ben, was in regards to the Mud Bowl.
Oh, the Miami game?
Yeah, the Miami game in 2007, I believe.
Oh, wow, yeah. When the punt dug in the ground and stayed.
Yes.
They punted the ball, it went up in the air, and the punt hit the ground nose first, and the ball was buried halfway in the ground. Never bounced, never did anything, and it just stuck there. It was one I've never. Everyone just kind of like, what happens? Like what? Like no.
What was the score of that game?
I don't remember.
So from what I understand, it was you guys won by 3, and those were the only points scored.
3-0.
Yeah, it was 3-0. So the question for you, Merril, actually came from, just so we can give some love, just a guy named Jay or a female named Jay from YouTube. And White Mamba 24XE is curious about it's the internet, folks. That's just the handle name. Is curious about the Mud Bowl and any your experiences or any funny stories that you had from that outside of just
that. That's all. I don't remember much from that game other than I feel like it was late in the year, and I think like the heater. And I could be completely wrong because there's so many games. I'm not like you where like you can remember some of that stuff. It's crazy.
Well, I played half as long as you did. So
but I remember like that ball sticking. But I think what happened was the heater, like the quote unquote heaters under the field, like actually like was melting the stuff down. And so instead of like letting it freeze, it like I was turned up too high or something. And it just was like mud. I mean, it was just.
So instead of the actual, because typically it would just freeze and get hard, and it would just hurt.
Yeah, they
typically.
do. I mean, a little bit, but it'd have a little bit of like softness on the top. But it's something happened where it was just mud. I mean, I remember that. The craziest weather I think I ever played in though was my first start down in Miami.
So both against Miami.
What's that?
Both of them were against Miami.
They were against Miami. There was a hurricane, so the game got pushed from Sunday, I think, to Monday. And we were in the hotel. Power went out, so they ran to the store and got like these 50-cent flashlights. And so we were doing meetings, and this was before iPads. So we had paper playbooks, and we're using flashlights to look at our playbooks.
That's amazing.
And the next day we went out, and it was when Miami had the baseball field, right? Had the dirt infield and the base, and it rained so incredibly hard you couldn't see anything, and it was miserable. But that was my very first start. Wasn't hard enough. I had to play in a hurricane. So that was my worst one. What was your worst weather that you remember?
You know what? In Miami. This is not a lie. I know this about this every single day. This is going to end in Miami.
Yeah.
It was 1989 too, and we had to win the rest of our games, and we had to go to Miami and play Dan Marino, who was tearing the league up. So we when we're warming up in this game, it is as beautiful can be. The sun is out. First quarter, I think Dan in his first 2 series is 14-0 like that.
Jeez.
So we're 14-0. As soon as they go up 14-0, like this cloud, the sky goes black. I mean, when I'm telling you monsoon type, it starts pouring. The drainage system busts in the stadium.
Yes.
It looks like waterfalls are coming off of all of the decks. There was a picture of me and Tim Worley were standing on the sideline. The water was just above above our shoe, above our ankle bone on the sideline, because it was, you know how fields are crowned.
Oh my gosh.
Water had because the draining system had bust. Water's all the way up to the side of the field. We end up knocking Dan Marino out of the game. I score 3 touchdowns. The end of the game, the sun comes out. We end up playing on one side of the field because it's how the halves end up being. We end up playing on one side of the field. It's destroyed. There's like 2 minutes left. We go to the other side of the field at the end. The sun comes out. It's beautiful. And we beat them like 35-14.
Oh, my God.
And we're on the other side of the field. Go, this grass is beautiful. There's only 2 minutes left, but it's like.
That's so funny, dude.
It poured like. I've never seen that. I thought we were going to break the old record of 40 days and 40 nights because it was
The old record.
it was coming down for us. Like, but we didn't turn the ball over. Dan threw picks all over the place. Then we hit him. He left the game. Dan's like, I'm out of here.
I don't play anymore.
Oh, Dan was like, I ain't playing this no more.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, if we'd have lost that game, we'd have had no chance to make the playoffs. That was another thing too. Like, actually, from that game on, our whole season shifted.
Wow.
It shifted after that game, but it was in Miami.
I would have loved to have been there to watch that happen, just because you guys are reacting to it in real time with the fans, to where like somebody could see you. Hey man, they standing in a foot of water as you're like, hey man, are we standing in a foot of water right now?
It was unbelievable. I'm telling you, it was the most. So you could talk to a lot of. I mean, most of the guys that played in that was.
That's crazy. Yeah,
in fact, they put did a big thing. You know how, I don't know if they do it anymore, where NFL Films, highlights the games, but that was the big game that week because of the rain.
I mean, I can understand that. So, yeah, so I only grabbed a couple of them this week because I just wanted to hear a lot of stories. So I would love to hear some hunt stories, because you guys actually have been on a couple of pretty awesome hunts.
We have. Merrill's been, I mean, we've hunted together a few times. We've hunted in Ohio together. We've hunted in Maryland. We hunted turkeys in Maryland together. And like I said, we're leaving tomorrow morning to go out to New Mexico, where you went last year, right? You've been there a couple times?
I've been there 4 times.
So he's been there a few times. So he's taking me. We went to Idaho last year.
Salmon, Idaho.
And I almost died.
But killed a big black bear, so it was worth it.
We did. We got
that bear was beautiful.
That was my favorite story. That was my favorite story when he came back. We sat right here. He's like, hey, man, I just got back from hunting. Like, let's grab a beer.
Sweet.
And I heard the story of the hunt. And that sounded terrifying.
Well, it can be. Listen, I mean,
yes, it was. It was terrifying. Listen, I have no problem. I'm outdoors. I love hunting. I love all this stuff. This is a true story, and I'm not going to take up too much time. Merril, I went on this hunt, and I was going up the side of this mountain. It was so steep and so scary. And it's not like, I know you can't really describe it to people. And I understand they're gonna be like, you're being dramatic.
No, truth to this.
I got to the top of the mountain where we were just scouting and looking for bear. And I got up there, and there's no cell service. There's no nothing, right? We were there for a week. We had no cell, not like a week, whatever, no cell service. And I got to the top of this mountain, and I wrote on my phone, I created a note to Ashley, my wife, because I was like, if I fall down this mountain, they're gonna find my phone, and they'll like, I'll have last words to Ashley. Like, I can't call her, I can't text her. I literally wrote like this.
They got so real so quick for you.
Hey, so real. I was at the top of this mountain, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make it down. So I want her to know, and my family to know how much I love them and all these things. And no joke, it rained. And then the winds pick up, it starts raining. And I'm like, I'm definitely not making it down. And Merrill's on another mountain. And you're actually back at the lodge, because you already shot your bear.
Right.
And I was up helping James Washington scout. So you're back at the lodge drinking coffee and stuff. And I'm up on this mountain, I'm about to die. And so I'm like praying.
Now listen, they have to get down to a certain time because you can't cross the river. That's why they got to get down.
Yeah, we got to get down.
So that he has to tell you that, because you can't be on the Salmon River at night, or you will get killed.
Yeah.
You will die. You will die.
So I write her this whole letter and everything like this, and it's raining, it's windy, it's like it's the most miserable. Like, I'm not gonna make it down. And climbing up, it was like you're like might grab onto like a little weed, like just for a handle, and your feet are. It was awful. And I swear that that like and it's raining, so I'm like, now I'm gonna slip going down. It's gonna be miserable. You're carrying your pack, you've got all this stuff. And I remember it rained so hard, I was like, you know what? This is it. And when I was coming down, it was like the rain was sent from God. I know it is, but it was sent from God because on the way down, the sand had turned to like thick, clumpy, like mud sand. And I was you were actually going down. I was like, holy cow, this is so much easier than going up. And we were like coming down and like, you know, it felt like, so it was like actually an answer to prayer. And it's amazing how sometimes we can take like these things in life that are like so negative, like this, it's raining, I'm gonna die. But really it was like God's gonna be like, no, I'm about to help you out. But it felt like it was a bad situation. So, but it was, that was the last hunt I went on. When Merril asked me to go on this elk hunt to New Mexico, my first question was, is it just like the Merril? Because I'm not going. I promised my wife I would never do that again. So he promised me it's not. But this is my first ever elk hunt. So I'm crazy excited about that.
I'm excited for
football always got in the way of elk hunting.
Yeah, I put hunting off for a long, long time, and that's what I promised myself. As soon as it's over, I'm gonna go. And then I started working at ESPN, and then I started having to do it again.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna work at ESPN, so we're going out for a week and see what happens.
I'm like excited. I'm excited for him because, like, listen, when you can sit there and watch videos and bull elk screaming, and when it's the real deal, there's nothing can prepare you for that. Nothing. And then it's just, that's what I tell, like, hunting is 99% hiking and sightseeing. And then you get that few minutes of like that moment that you've been waiting for. And
well, people don't realize too, it's a big, I mean, if you don't know anything about hunting, it's a big animal.
Yeah.
And didn't someone just kill one like at 9 yards like last week?
Yeah.
Like 9 yards. You're talking 9 yards.
Bro.
And we're using bows, which makes it much trickier, much harder.
Much harder.
You're gonna have to get closer. So it's gonna be so that's why we're gonna take a week off from doing this, maybe 2 weeks, because I know you're leaving town for that. So we're gonna try and make this a 2-parter, aren't we?
Yeah, it's be a 2-parter because you're doing that, and then I'll be out.
And we've done this. We've been sitting here for it's a lot longer we've normally sat here, but it's been so much fun listening to you talk.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad
Are you the type of guy though that like finds some experience like that to where you're finding these different hunting areas or a different game to hunt, and you're like, I need to share this with somebody. Like part of this experience for me is actually sharing this with people I care about.
Yeah, well, like when you find out the people that like what you like,
Like so taking Ben on this trip is just as big a deal as you going on this trip.
It might be a bigger deal. Like when I see somebody, like they'll be like taking my bro, like when I take Marty hunting or son, you see them.
Well, I hunt with your son too.
Yeah, and Bo, my son. It's a complete different. I can honestly say, like, I hope he gets the bull. I don't get a bull. I want both ones. We both can get a bull, but if we walk away, I want him to get a bull because they're not easy. It doesn't mean. But to see him in that environment that he's going to get to be in, because I know how much he appreciates it too. So when you get to see, I'm telling you, when I say no cell service stuff is such a blessing. It is the greatest 5 days. Your phone can't work. It is the best. I'm telling you, when I get ready to come out, I'm like, gosh dang it. That's been great. Not having to deal with the phone for the last 5 days. 4
or 5 years, I've gone to your place in Ohio to hunt deer. Merril's got in Ohio, in his area, he's got some of the biggest whitetail deer that I've ever seen. They're monsters. And so he's always like, he'll send me pictures. Ben, you got to come on. This is gonna be great. We're gonna kill this moth. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. And sure enough, every year I'll sit in a blind for like 3 or 4 straight days and not even see a deer. So Merril owes me.
Yeah, I'm just hoping he gets one of these big bulls. And I'm like, we're even. We're even, man. We're even.
I almost hit a deer driving up your driveway today.
Oh,
there's 2 deer just going through.
I actually did hit a deer the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you?
Is that what we're eating?
Jumped out in front of me. Oh, geez. Luckily, it just kind of caught the side of the car, so I'm hoping it's okay. Couldn't find it. Went back, couldn't find it. So it was dark, so I went back. I couldn't.
Jeez, was that the dent on the white one?
Yep.
Was it? Dude, I saw that when we were going back out to the stadium. I was like, I wonder what that was.
Yeah, that was a deer. Big old doe.
That's a deer.
Yeah. Dang.
So we're looking forward to it. A lot of fun hunting, and I think that's one of the things I know we've talked about with your kids. I think doing it with your your kids is really cool. And I was gonna say boys, but really it can be daughters. Like
Well,
my brother-in-law, he takes his daughter hunting.
Right.
She's also a hunter. So being able to do those things with him, I know my Benjamin's gotten a deer 3 years in a row, and
That's
every year it's a little
crazy.
bit bigger.
That's good for
you know.
man.
And so he's already excited. He's
You
already
need to get
shooting
Benjamin
his bow.
on one of these podcasts. Talk to him
He's
about his
going
golf.
to.
Is he?
He's going to come
He
on
would be fun.
every time we do one. He's like, Dad, am I coming on yet? I'm like, relax, buddy. Relax. We'll get you on here.
He said, hey, Spence, just make sure you contact my agent for whatever times is right. Yeah.
He's a funny.
No, he's
cat.
he's going to want to be
fun.
on there.
He's
I'm sure we won't talk about him beating you in golf.
No, don't do that yet.
Okay.
'Cause tell him I want a rematch.
Again?
I want another one. Yes. Every time I play Benjamin, I actually get better. Every time I go get better, and then I come back for Benjamin.
We played this week, and he was like, I've been practicing Benjamin. I'm coming for you. And Merril came out the gate on fire.
I'm telling you, like par.
And he's got Benjamin. And next thing you know, it was like, no joke, we finished 18, and Tom Jones is standing there. And Tom's like, he works there as the caddy. He's the best guy ever there. But he says, hey, well, Benjamin, did you beat him? Benjamin yells, well, I beat one of them.
That's funny.
Like, just so unassuming, right? Like,
That's funny. No matter if you're the guy getting beat, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I beat one of them. I'm like, Benjamin, show some respect. He's like he just
He didn't say it was. He just said I beat one of them.
That's so, yeah, because I asked him about the game today. I was like, hey, have you been golfing? He's like, yeah, I went today or the other day with Mr. Merril. And I'm like, oh, did you play well? He goes, not really.
And he really didn't play his best. He played better at Nevillewood, actually. But
Yeah.
But still, he's a good
He's
golfer.
still one, yeah.
He's a really good golfer, man.
So,
That's amazing.
all right. Are we wrapping this thing up?
Yeah, man, we definitely can.
Anything hunting you want to talk about? Stories or anything you want to talk
I am
about?
curious because you're such an avid hunter, what is your all-time, like the honey pot? What is your favorite place to hunt and your favorite game? They don't have to be the same.
We're going at it. The elk.
The elk.
And the combination of bear. So, like, he will see, like I told him, get a bear tag because you'll see a lot of bears. My first 3 years, I was like, my first year, I didn't have a bear tag. One of the biggest bears I ever saw was 20 yards away from him. And I was like, I didn't know you had bears up here. He goes, my guide goes, you got a tag? I go, no, why? He goes, it's bear season. I'm like, why don't I have a tag? Went back to Audrey. I'm like, why did I have a tag? I didn't know it was bear season.
That'd be terrifying to see a bear 20 yards away. Me and my wife were in Canada one time, and they shut down. We were in Banff, and we were going to go see like the Emerald Lake or Lake Louise or whatever. They shut it down because apparently there's this huge bear that lives there. The park ranger was like, hey, mom was out. You guys got to go.
Right. So what time of year was it? Spring?
Yes, right before
So
towards
she's had her covered. So yeah, you don't mess around.
Yeah, they cleared. I'm telling you, brother, they cleared that joint out.
Right,
They're
right.
like, hey, none of y'all come be here.
Yeah, because you're even in their vicinity. They think you're a threat, and it is done.
Yeah, man.
Because a bear is the most athletic thing I've ever witnessed in the wild, ever. Nothing even close.
the thing to remember though when you're bear hunting is you really just have to be faster than one person.
That's right. Get up the tree faster than they do.
Beat one of them. I beat one of them.
That's provided there's two people there. They ain't
right.
Just surrender, man. Don't run.
Just go down.
Just end it. You go down.
What is there? So elk is your thing.
That's my.
Do you have like a
mother
bucket list? Is there something like you're not crazy? Like you wouldn't like you're not. And we actually don't cut anything. You're not like I want to go kill like an elephant or a giraffe.
No. Marty actually went to Africa. Now that he killed like kudus and things like that.
Yeah, those are like deer.
And
That's not a big deal.
He actually
didn't like it.
No, he loved it.
Oh, okay.
And he wants to go back.
That
doesn't move me.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, but their kudu and their wildebeest are just like our deer and stuff over here.
Yeah,
people ask all the time, like they know I'm a big hunter, and I try and do almost all like archery because I think it's such a challenge. We've talked about that. You got to be close. There's just it's an art to it and a skill. But I have no interest in doing like giraffe, elf, like that zebra, things like that doesn't entice me. Like trophy hunting. I whitetail, turkeys, birds and elk.
I don't go to anything
like
fenced in.
Yeah,
I don't do that because that to me is killing. Because I don't care. I don't care if it's 10,000 acres. The 10,000 acres, and they're in that 10,000 acres. Where we're going, hundreds of thousands of acres, and we have no idea where they are. We gotta go find them.
Yeah.
We got to go find them, and that's part of the battle too. Is trying to find them.
But one of the unique things I think about elk, which I have not done, but I have done red stag, which is very similar, and they roar.
No, I didn't realize how big that bad boy is.
They roar.
Jeez.
Yeah, the guy on the wall back
It's
there.
actually
They
behind
roar.
Merril.
But
your head, you can see it.
Unlike whitetail, which is you have to be as quiet as you can be, the elk is going to make a noise, and you're going to know where it is. You're going to hear it. Doesn't mean they're not going to sneak up on you, but at least you have an opportunity to hear, to bugle, to do some things to try and bring them to you. Unlike whitetail, where you're literally just sitting and waiting.
You're at their disposal. So
we're going to be walking. We're going to be spotting and stalking. We're going to be calling, doing stuff like that. So it'll be, it'll be fun.
You said something now that you sparked me. I can't even tell you. I think 2 of the 4 years that I've been there, I've had 2 of the biggest bulls sneak up on me, and I never even heard them.
Jeez.
Until my guide said, "Hey, look to your left." I'm like, and as I'm telling a big old bull standing there, I'm like, I never even heard. How does that 800-pound animal
sneak up on you?
And I didn't hear it. It's just fascinating. Now, there's times you do hear them, and there'll be times that you don't hear them.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I get to come back on here the next time we're on and talk about.
Well, I know this. Happened. No matter what, you're gonna have experiences. You'll have great experience.
Yeah.
You'll have. Just make sure you got your arrow in your.
I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up.
I live vicariously through all the hunting experiences because I'll come over and eat them. Like, hey man, so how's the hunting trip? Are we eating good or what's going on here? Is it burgers?
We ate good. We ate good tonight.
Yeah, we ate good tonight for sure.
But yeah, thanks to Merril.
Yeah. No, thank you guys.
For coming.
Man, I sure appreciate it.
The books. We're gonna get Merril to sign the books.
Yeah,
we
I'll
got
sign
some
you
shirts,
a jersey too, and
a jersey, mini helmet, football. We got Steeler helmet back there. We'll sign. We'll even we'll put these hats in it. I mean, we wore them today, but so the red one I wore.
Well, I got extra hats. I'll send them out too.
But I think it'd be cool if they can wear the hat that I wore during the show.
Yeah.
Cool. Do that too.
Yeah,
expenses.
We can do that too.
Yeah, no,
so we'll figure it out, but we'll get it done and we'll get it out to people. And thanks for coming on, brother.
My pleasure. Anytime, man.
You're the best.
I'll see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, see you early in the morning.